Hello, listeners. Welcome to another podcast on world history. Today I will talk about the Qin Dynasty, which falls under the early Chinese dynasties. This content is about to support the argument that the Qin Dynasty, though short-lived, was one of the most important periods of China's classical age. So, let's get started. The Qin Dynasty. The Qin Dynasty saw rich cultural and technological innovation, but brutal rule, and gave way to the Han Dynasty after only 15 years. When the Qin state emerged victorious from the Warring States period in 221 BCE, the state's leader, King Zheng, claimed the mandate of heaven and established the Qin Dynasty. He renamed himself Xi Shihuangdi, first emperor, a far grander title than king, establishing the way in which China would be ruled for the next 2 millennia. Today he is known as Qin Shihuang, meaning first Qin emperor. He relied on brutal techniques and legalist doctrine to consolidate and expand his power. The nobility were stripped of control and authority so that the independent and disloyal nobility that had plagued the Zhou would not pose a problem. The Qin dynasty was one of the shortest in all of Chinese history, lasting only about 15 years, but it was also one of the most important. With Qin Shihuang's standardization of society and unification of the states, for the first time in centuries, into the First Chinese Empire, he enabled the Chinese to think of themselves as members of a single kingdom. This laid the foundation for the consolidation of the Chinese territories that we know today, and resulted in a very bureaucratic state with a large economy, capable of supporting an expanded military. Innovations of Emperor Xi Shihuangdi. The first emperor divided China into provinces, with civil and military officials in a hierarchy of ranks. He built the Linghe Canal, which joined the Yangtze River basin to the Canton area via the Li River. This canal helped send 500,000 Chinese troops to conquer the lands to the south. Qin Shi Huang standardized writing, a crucial factor in the overcoming of cultural barriers between provinces, and unifying the empire. He also standardized systems of currency, weights, and measures, and conducted a census of his people. He established elaborate postal and irrigation systems, and built great highways. In contrast, in line with his attempt to impose legalism, Qin Shi Huang strongly discouraged philosophy, particularly Confucianism, and history. He buried 460 Confucian scholars alive and burned many of their philosophical texts, as well as many historical texts that were not about the Qin state. This burning of books and execution of philosophers marked the end of the 100 schools of thought. The philosophy of Moism in particular was completely wiped out. Finally, Qin Shi Huang began the building of the Great Wall of China, one of the greatest construction feats of all time, to protect the nation against barbarians. 700,000 forced laborers were used in building the wall, and thousands of them were crushed beneath the massive gray rocks. The wall was roughly 1,500 miles long, and wide enough for 6 horses to gallop abreast along the top. The nation's first standing army, possibly consisting of millions, guarded the wall from northern invaders. The Terracotta Army. Another of Qin Shi Huang's most impressive building projects was the preparation he made for his own death. He had a massive tomb created for him on Mount Li, near modern-day Xi'an, and was buried there when he died. The tomb was filled with thousands and thousands of life-sized, or larger, terracotta soldiers meant to guard the emperor in his afterlife. This terracotta army was rediscovered in the 20th century. Each soldier was carved with a different face, and those that were armed had real weapons. Collapse of the Qin dynasty. Qin Shi Huang was paranoid about his death, and because of this he was able to survive numerous assassination attempts. He became increasingly obsessed with immortality and employed many alchemists and sorcerers. Ironically, he ultimately died by poisoning in 210 BCE, when he drank an immortality potion. The first emperor's brutal techniques and tyranny produced resistance among the people, especially the conscripted peasants and farmers whose labors built the empire. Upon the first emperor's death, China plunged into civil war, exacerbated by floods and droughts. In 207 BCE, Qin Shihuang's son was killed, and the dynasty collapsed entirely. Chaos reigned until 202 BCE, when Jiaozhou, a petty official, became a general and reunited China under the Han Dynasty. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out other tracks as well. Show your love by hitting the subscribe button and do like, comment and share, to spread knowledge. See you next time. Till then, keep learning for fun.